It's been called one of the biggest disasters India's environment is facing. Our beautiful beaches are being killed. It's a worst kept secret now that that's 50% of India's beaches are gone. It's turned to rock. This could, of course, have terrible consequences for the economy all along India's coast, as well as for tourism, of course. The good news is that this, what's being called the rape and murder of our beaches, can be reversed. But do we care enough?
Over the span of a few decades, India has lost almost half its beaches along its once beautiful coastline. And in a few years from now, India won't have a single beach left. We are losing our beaches every second because of simple man-made errors. It's not too late. Many miles of beaches can still be saved, but the government is doing nothing. In fact, most state governments are making things worse. It's known around the world as the murder of India's beaches. Even though it's not clear to the naked eye, beaches are constantly moving. The sand moves up the coastline, pushed by the winds and the waves, especially during the monsoon. Now, when a port is built, it breaks this natural movement of sand. As a result, sand piles up south of the port. But north of the beach, the sand gets eroded as it moves further north. If it goes on, there'll only be rocks left, not beaches. That is why Marina Beach in Chennai has so much sand. But go north of the port and the beaches are gone, lost, destroyed. In other parts of the world, it's mandatory for all ports to dredge the sand from one side and place it on the other, but not in India. Instead, in India, the government gives the lucrative contracts to businessmen to fill the eroded beaches with rocks and build walls of rocks. India is building so many miles of rock walls where beaches used to be that maybe in 20 years or more, our entire coastline will be one long rock wall, longer than the Great Wall of China. What's killing the beaches even faster is the number of ports India is building. Instead of 5 or 6 big, modern, profitable ports, India is commissioning a small new port every few months. Most are loss-making and cannot afford to dredge the sand. There is another devastating effect of the death of our beaches. The sand on the beaches acts as a filter and stops salt and seawater from going inland. The problem with rocks is that they can't act as a filter. So wherever the eroded beaches are replaced by rocks and rock walls, more and more villages on our coastline have discovered that the underground water in their area has become saline, which in turn means that their crops and livelihood are dying. India used to be famous for its necklace of beaches. Unless something is done fast, there will be no beaches. But it will be famous for another kind of necklace, a necklace of rocks.
Joining us now is Probir Banerjee. Probir, thank you very much for joining us. Most of that report was based on much of the information you gave us. Is it really a crisis, or are we being alarmist?
I think it's a very severe crisis. Because the point is that the policies of the government of India as well as the states are not addressing any of the issues which will happen when these ports come up.
So every time there's a port, it breaks this moving sand, as you say, and we're not moving the dredging the sand and moving it to the other side. So they're just building up sand on one side and rocks on the other. And how many ports are we building?
From the number of ports which are coming up, every 30 kilometers there's going to be a port.
30 kilometers, but that's
every
crazy.
30 kilometers. Now everyone knows that this is not viable, but it is again, as you know what happens, it's a big land scam.
Right.
Now, what happens is
ports is a lot of money for those who build it, but eventually they run at losses because every 30 kilometers of a port is nuts.
And what is happening is that the existing erosion, the government is not doing anything to restore it. Right. So how does it have the moral authority to encourage more ports when it is not being able to clean up its own mess?
So tell me, what happens to the villages along our coast now?
See, for example, in Pondicherry, we have lost about 12 kilometers of beautiful sandy beaches, 12 fishing villages, homes and livelihoods have been completely wiped out.
So it's not just a question of the beauty of the beaches and sunbathing. These are people who live by the side of the beaches. The livelihood is gone.
Homes, livelihoods, the agricultural, the severe agriculture devastation, And
why? Because of the salinity of the water going through the rocks.
Yes, the water, the sand, the beach actually prevents saline water to get into the water aquifer.
Right.
Now, when this is gone, obviously the seawater creeps in.
Right. So this is like, I mean, it seems a crisis which not too many people know about. What can be done to stop it now and reverse it perhaps? Is it possible or is it all over now?
No, I think there is still hope. And the thing is that unless media takes it up, this is a phenomena which people think it's natural. But if you see the presentations and if you see what is happening, it is very clearly a man-made disaster. And unless the government actually takes the initiative of seeing what has been the impact of the existing ports and harbors, and make a plan, have an expert opinion about how to handle this coastal damage, nothing can be done to stop this devastation.
So if I could just confirm with you final statements. One, it's not just a question of the beaches are going. 50% have gone. They've turned to rocks. The sand is
rock wall.
Rock wall now.
Yeah.
Number two, this is caused by ports
and
which are interrupting the normal flow, and harbors.
And also groins. You know what they are doing is whenever there's a little erosion, they come out with these groins, this proposal for groins, which is actually the whole thing is a money-making thing for a whole lot of people, vested interests.
So, but on the hopeful note, something can be done to reverse it.
Yes, if
we
the media
can get our beaches back. And it's not just a question of beauty, it's a question of the livelihood of the villages by the coast. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And unless you can take up this issue and make people aware of why this is happening, people think it's a natural phenomena.
Okay. Thank you very much for bringing this to our notice, and we will certainly take this up. I think it's a crucial campaign. Jairam Ramesh, Minister of State for the Environment with Independent Job, you've got a major task on your hand. Get back our beaches and give those villagers their livelihood back. That's all we have time for now.